Rutgers men's basketball goes into Lincoln, Nebraska, and comes out victorious with an 85-82 win on Thursday night, late night. And it was a tremendous performance from this team. It was great to see them build off of what they were able to accomplish against the win against UCLA. And I think you saw tonight that this team is becoming a real team. And it was super encouraging for many reasons. First loss for ends Nebraska's 20-game home winning streak. First Big Ten team to win in Lincoln since Michigan State did in February 2023. It was a very poised performance. Ace Bailey said it in the post-game interview on FS1. They battled through adversity in this game. It started to fall apart a little bit there. They fell behind by 5, with under 10 minutes to go, and this team kept it together. They were playing very well offensively, but they could not buy a stop on the defensive end. Nebraska was shooting lights out, and Rutgers just kept coming. They stayed together. They hung around, and finally, Nebraska could not buy a bucket down the stretch. I don't know what they finished, but they were, scoreless for like 3 minutes, for like 4.5 to go to a minute and a half to go. And Rutgers got hot, and they played smart. They shared the basketball tonight. Yes, they missed some free throws down the stretch. It was a very tenuous ending. Tremendous press break to seal the game. Dylan Harper getting into space, finding Ace, who found Dylan Grant, who did dunk it with, a couple seconds to go. Kind of an inexperienced move there. Should just have dribbled out the clock. But regardless, he'll learn. Dylan Grant was fantastic tonight. So many big contributions for this team. But I think the most important takeaway from this game is that there is a framework that you're seeing now. Players are falling into roles. Players are accepting roles. Players are excelling at roles. And they are coming together as a team at the moment they have to. If they're going to make this a worthwhile season, if they're going to make this a meaningful run, they had to come together right now. And this week they have. And you got to give all the credit to the players, to Steve Peichel, the coaching staff. The changes that Peichel's made, I've seen a lot of complaints on Facebook. Why didn't Dylan Grant play earlier? Well, listen, we could talk about that, and that's a valid question. But at the same point, look what he's getting out of Dylan Grant these last 4 games. I did mention before, Dylan Grant didn't play high school ball last year. I think part of it, too, is just Peichel. He's a loyal guy, and he brought in these veteran transfers, and he tried to get everything out of them he could. And he finally got to a point where he realized it wasn't happening. And he made some serious changes. And guess what? They're working. And it's not too late. Yes, their backs are against the wall, but this was the first of 7 consecutive quad 1 opportunities. Rutgers getting their first quad 1 win of the season, now 1-6. They are 3-0 in quad 2 games. They do have those 2 quad 3 losses. They are still well away from the bubble, but this game certainly, it breeds hope. It breeds hope that they're starting to figure things out, and it's not too late. But they had to figure it out now. And you have to win road games in the Big Ten to have a chance to fight back into it. If you're going to get 11, 12 conference wins, you have to win on the road. Nebraska, although extremely difficult at home, is a winnable game. And Rutgers went in there, and they played with authority. They played with purpose. They played connected. They struggled on defense at times. They were very efficient offensively, and you got multiple contributions from guys. And it was just great to see some of the guys that stepped up. So let's get into it. We'll talk about Ace and Dylan in a minute. Dylan Grant was sensational. 7 of 8 from the floor, 15 points, 3 rebounds, a block. But his consistency on defense, he understands where to be on the floor. He has his head on a swivel. He's really good on his man, but I can't believe Peichel hasn't said this because it's such a Peichel term. Dylan Grant gives Rutgers fiber on the court. He is tough. He is under control. He's poised. He knows where to be on the floor. Offense, too. He's able to stretch the floor. He hit another 3 again tonight, just 1-1, but 4th game in a row with a 3 for him. But he's able to stand out on the perimeter and help stretch out that D. He just he plays totally under control within himself. I mean, beyond his years. His only mistake was at the end of getting that dunk, but that's a learning lesson there. And you know what? He made it. They won the game, and it's great to learn lessons like that when you win the game. But his presence, his emergence here has changed the trajectory of this team. Him being the fourth starter now, it also allows Ace to be the 3. Dylan's at the 4. You got Lathan starting at the 5, and then you got Harper and Acuff. Acuff didn't play big minutes tonight, but again, I think the difference, he only played 8 minutes. He didn't score. He didn't have a huge impact. But where I do think he's had an impact is that at the start of games, they haven't been so helter-skelter. He hasn't, he doesn't turn it over. And Rutgers was really a victim of that early on. Now, they were a little disjointed in the beginning, but you have to give a ton of credit. I thought where Rutgers got into the game was that first set of substitutions when you had Zach Martini, you had J. Mike and J. Will come into the game, and they moved the ball. They swung the ball. Rutgers got 3 straight 3-point possessions. They got Ace on a 3-point and 1, and then J. Will hit a 3, and then Martini hit a 3, and they really moved the ball, and they just got into the flow of the game. That got this team going, and you have to give credit to all 3 of those guys coming off the bench, ready to go. That's what this team needs. And all of a sudden, the way roles are dispersed now, that bench is really looking cohesive. They come in with purpose, and they all contributed tonight. Jay Will, he struggled. Listen, Jay Will makes some plays that are frustrating as hell. I get the comments all the time. Yeah, he's not a perfect player. He's a little bit wild. He fouls a little bit too much. He takes some careless shots at times. But you know what? He makes some big plays at times too. Tonight, he had 7 points, 3 of 7 from the floor, just 1 of 5 from 3, but he had 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 0 turnovers, a steal. He was plus 11 on the floor. He brings them some real toughness on the floor. And he's a senior captain leader. He's embracing coming off the bench right now. And that's huge for the chemistry of this team. Zach Martini, so fun to see him make a big impact in this game. Rest in peace, the great David Lynch, who Martini wrote his senior thesis at Princeton on. And boy, did he honor David Lynch in this game. 11 points, 4 of 5 from the floor, 3 of 4 from 3. Had a couple boards and assists, a block, no turnovers. It was plus 14 tonight. The bench was fantastic. They won the game. As great as it's hard to say. Dylan and Ace are amazing. They made some big time buckets, but the play of the bench tonight really kept Rutgers in this game. Zach Martini, 3 huge threes. He had another one he missed that would have been a monster, but he made his shots tonight, and he looked confident out there. His confidence is back, and this team, did a great job of ball reversals, kickouts, swinging the ball, cross court. They were exposing the Nebraska defense. Nebraska is susceptible to threes to give up a ton of 3-point attempts, and Rutgers shot the lights out, 12 of 29, 41.4% from 3, multiple 3-point shooters in this game. But let's talk first, before we get into that, Emmanuel Igbole. Talk about a performance, 11 rebounds off the bench, 2 assists, 0 turnovers, a steal, team high plus 17 in 24 minutes. He made his only field goal of the game, but 11 rebounds. He had great defense at the rim tonight. He was setting screens effectively. He was active. He played with purpose. He has really responded the last 2 games in coming off the bench, and you got to give him a lot of credit for that. But he brought them some real toughness inside tonight that they desperately need. And it was huge. It was just great to see so many contributions in this game. J. Mike missed all 4 of his shots. He had 2 assists. No turnovers for him, though. It did have a block. Just played 12 minutes. But listen, when he was in the game, again, he played under control. He wasn't forcing things. And he played with purpose. Durkat got some run tonight after not playing last week. Against UCLA, 8 minutes. Did have a big 3-point play at one point, had 3 boards, 0 turnovers from him. They just had 8 turnovers as a team tonight. Dylan and Ace had 7 of them. The rest of the team had 1. So that was fantastic. the way they took care of the basketball. They finished 14 of 18 at the rim tonight on layups and dunks, but 12 of 29 from three. Dylan was 3 of 8. Ace was 4 of 7. Dylan Grant was 1 of 1. Acuff missed both attempts. Durkak and J. Mike missed their attempts. J. Will was 1 of 5. Zach Martini was 3 of 4. So you had 3 guys with combining for 11 makes from 3. That was huge. Struggled from the line, 7 of 14. But Ace made those 2 huge free throws. That was big down the stretch. And overall, this team shot 49% from the floor. They held Nebraska to 45%. You take out those threes, they were 21 of 38 from the floor from 2-point range, which is really solid for Rutgers. Actually, I have the Ken Palm right here. Let's see what they were able to do from 2 tonight. It was let's see, they were 55%, 21 to 38. 41% from 3. I mean, that's super. They were, wow. This is the most efficient offensive performance of the season. 133.4. Tremendous offensive performance from this team. Defensively, it was their worst as well from an efficiency standpoint. But the offense showed up, and they got enough stops when they had to. And then just Somerville had kind of a quiet game, was in foul trouble. Didn't give them a ton tonight. But they were able to overcome it because Bole was so big off the bench. Grant was so big. But Ace and Dylan, I mean, big-time shot makers. Ace was fantastic the entire game. Super active. 3 blocks once again from him. A steal. Played 36 minutes. Did have 4 fouls. But 8 of 16 from the floor. 4 of 7 from 3. 4 of 6 from the line. 11 rebounds from him. Back-to-back double-doubles. And 4 assists. It just seems like Ace Bailey has, in 72 font boldface in his locker, I don't know, that article from Matt Norlander when an anonymous coach said he's an unwilling passer. He was almost too willing of a passer. Now he had a couple turnovers on, forcing passes, but he's just playing complete basketball. These last 2 games, he's been a complete player for this team. He's making when he plays. He's doing the dirty work. He's playing his ass off, and he cares. And he is willing this team to victory. Made some huge threes down the stretch. Made that huge 3 at the end of the half to send them up 3, which is really important. Nebraska comes out, steamrolls Rutgers early in that second half. Every time they kind of fell off early in the game, started the second half, kind of, 7-minute mark in the game, they started to fall behind, and they were able to gather themselves up and get back into the game. 3 different times it was starting to go south on them, and they were able to regain their composure in this game. And then Dylan Harper, I mean, his ability to get downhill is just a game changer. The way he's able to just knife through the defense, his body control, his ability to finish at the rim, it's second to none. He's just unbelievable in doing that. And you saw when Rutgers had a lead late, he was able to get to the rim twice on layups. He got fouled. He didn't miss those free throws. But his ability to get downhill late in the game when they have a lead is lethal. They're going to win a lot of games. If they can be up 3-4 points with 2-3 minutes to go, you get the ball to Dylan Harper and you get him downhill, and you're going to win the game. And that's a huge weapon for them. Dylan had a slow start shooting, picked it up in the second half. He was 5 of 10 from the floor in the second half. And he finished also with 4 assists, 5 rebounds, had a steal, played 35 minutes, 3 of 8 from 3, was just 2 of 5 from the line, but made some big-time shots. And this team, the formula is there. Ace and Dylan are your stars. Ace and Dylan are going to do the bulk of the scoring. You combine for 45 points tonight out of 85. But then when you get the contributions you got from Grant, from Bole, from J. Will, from Zach Martini, all huge. And then I thought you got some positive play from J. Mike a little bit there. Durkak gave you a little bit. This team, Durkak's ability to inbound the ball at the end of the game, very important role there. He did that effectively. We've seen way too many times over the years Rutgers not be able to handle the pressure down the stretch. Minnesota comes to mind watching the end of that Michigan game, which they won. Minnesota, huge upset. So it was just great to see this team come together. It was great to see them play with passion, to play connected, and credit to everyone in this program for picking themselves up off the mat And now things are interesting. They're not back in it yet, but they got a puncher's chance. They're now 3-4 in the Big Ten. It's killer because if you just think about if Dylan was healthy, those 3 Big Ten games he was out and played limited. Those 2 other games, he missed 1, played limited in 2. If they just get one of those wins, they have a winning record in Big Ten play right now, and probably another quad 1 or quad 2 win. Regardless, this team they're fighting their way back. They're 3-4 now in the Big Ten, 10-8 overall. Ken Palm, they jumped up to 82. This was a quad 1 victory on the road, a much needed road win. They were 1-6 in road neutral games coming into this game. Let's see, in terms of Nebraska, their net coming into this game, looking it up right now, they were 45th. So that's a pretty solid Q1. You know, when you're on the road, Q1 wins are top 75. So solidly a Q1 win. I don't think Nebraska is going to fall below that 75 line at any point this season. So this one should hold. So this is a big time win for this program. It's a statement in the Big Ten. The announcers were saying it after the game. If you're the Big Ten, you're paying attention now. You know, Rutgers is a team you don't want to play. And now things could really get interesting. You go to Penn State on Monday night, a team you already beat at the rack. It's a place, Happy Valley is always a weird environment. But, you know, Rutgers is going to go in there with a ton of confidence now. And if you can win that game, then you're at Madison Square Garden playing a ranked Michigan State team. That place is going to be insane. Penn State is a Q1 road game. They are right now in the net 49. And then Michigan State, high Q1, 17. Then you go on the road at Northwestern. They're a Q1. And then you have a 2-game homestand against Michigan and Illinois, both top 10. And then you're on the road at Maryland. I mean, all the opportunities in front of you. Then you're at Iowa, Q2 game. Excuse me, home against Iowa, Q2. At Oregon, Q1. Then you have at Washington, Q2. USC at home, Q2. Michigan and Purdue on the road. Crazy stretch there, both Q1. And then you got Minnesota at home to finish the season, quad 3. But, I mean, all quad 1 and quad 2 games ahead of you except the season finale against Minnesota. I mean, it's all right there. Can you expect them to just reel off some ridiculous run? It's a lot to ask. It's a lot to ask for freshmen, but it's very clear that they're learning pretty rapidly right now. They're starting to figure things out. If you think about the stretch that Rutgers had to put together 3-4 years ago with, you know, Gio, Ron, when they were in that hole, they had those 3 terrible non-conference losses. There'd be 4 ranked opponents in a row. This is not an easy stretch for Rutgers, but this is not that. These are all quad 1 opponents, but, you know, Nebraska isn't ranked. Penn State's not ranked. Michigan State is ranked. Northwestern's not ranked. Michigan and Illinois are tough. They're ranked. But you have a chance to get 3 road wins here in a row against quad 1 opponents that are not elite teams. And they're right there for you. And you get those 3 road wins, that would be huge for the resume to beef up those road neutral record and to rack up those quad 1 wins. They listen, they have a long way to go. But right now, you're 4-6 with quad 1, quad 2 combined. You have those 2 quad 3 losses. But if you can get 2 to 3 more quad 1 wins in these next 3 games, you know, you're really starting to get back in the conversation. Their net right now is 86. They'll probably move up to around 80 on Friday. So they got a long way to go. But with the road ahead of them, the opportunities are there. And if this team can just continue to play together, to embrace the roles, and that's the biggest thing, is that these guys are embracing their roles. All of a sudden, it's starting to fall into place. Everything seems to fit now. Martini, J-Will, J-Mike, Agbole coming off the bench, Durkak. The bench just, it's more connected. They're filling roles. They're doing the little things. They're simplifying what they're asked to do. It's almost like when they were starting, some of those guys were just trying to do too much. And I think J-Will coming in off the bench after settling in, seeing the game start, you know, not having some time with the ball, with giving Dylan a little bit of break. It's just a good combination. And Acuff hasn't lit it up or anything, but he's brought some stability on the ball, and he's taken some pressure off Dylan Harper on the ball. So all of these things, Dylan Grant giving them fiber on both ends of the floor, stealing that line from Steve Peichel. Ace being able to play at the 3, it just creates more matchups. They're bigger now, right? You're not playing 3 guards out there with J. Mike and J. Will. I mean, you have Acuff at 6'5", Harper at 6'6". You have Bailey at 6'10", Grant at 6'7", Somerville at 6'10". That is a big starting lineup, and they're more athletic with Grant in there now. Acuff just knows how to play basketball. He's smooth, under control. This team is a different team than they were last week. That Purdue loss, we hoped, was the bottom, and knock on wood, it seems like maybe that was the low point, and that was enough to get this team to change things around. It was enough to get Steve Peichel to really make some hard decisions, which he has. You got to give him credit for that. And it's just, in terms of their ability. I mean, listen, statistically, there's still things to work on. Their interior defense at times was not great tonight. Points in the paint, they did win 40-30, though. They did give up 19 offensive rebounds. They got 17 of their own. Nebraska did win second chance points 25-19. They won. Rutgers won points off of turnovers 12-8. Just 15 turnovers total in the game, 8 for Rutgers, 7 for Nebraska. They were -2 on the boards, but pretty even there. Not a ton of transition points, 1-8-6, but 16 assists tonight on 33 makes, solid. 6 blocks, 4 steals. That's really, really good from this team. And to shoot 49%. It kept Nebraska 45%. Nebraska did make 41% from 3 as well. They had 27 free throw opportunities. Some of you want to complain about free throws. They were just 63% on 27 attempts. So that was a big part of this game as well. Asijan obviously killed him. Bryce Williams and Gary were just fantastic. They had 21 and 20. But Rutgers was able to overcome it. They were able to overcome adversity on the road. And you just see this team, their activity, the way they're talking to each other, the way they're picking each other up. This is a team now. And they're going to be a tough out. Hope is a good thing, maybe the best of things, and no good thing ever dies. The great Andy Dufresne with that quote. I'll leave you with that tonight. We're not back yet, but Rutgers, as I said in the last week, I just want to see this team now go down swinging, right? If they're going to go down swinging, and this team is swinging. And guess what? They're not going down yet. And there's more to come. Ton of opportunities ahead of them. Can they continue to pull themselves out of hell and get back into this? I mean, if they can, listen, if you can win at Penn State, you go to the Garden, CBS, national television, Michigan State, ranked, you can win that game, all of a sudden, everything changes. The narrative of the season changes. You'll have a winning record in Big Ten play. You'll have 3 back-to-back quad 1 victories. It's going to completely flip the script on this season, and it's still going to be January. So it's a marathon, not a sprint. Don't give up on this team. And tonight, this was a very encouraging week. I might have some more thoughts, over the weekend before I will. I'll put something together. But this was a super inspiring performance from this team. The guttiness that they showed, the different individual performances that you got, the way they were connected on the floor, the way they were able to kind of weather the storm against Nebraska in an environment that Nebraska never loses. They've lost once in 2 years. That was to their blood rival, Creighton. And no Big Ten team had gone in there since Michigan State in 2 years. And Rutgers did it tonight. And in a 20-game win streak for Nebraska, for a program that in that same time period, Rutgers, I tweeted it before the game, they were 2-11 in the last 13 Big Ten road games. And they went out there and they got a big one tonight. And couldn't be more happier. I know you are too. And thank you so much for listening and watching once again to this Rapid Reaction Scarlet Faithful Podcast. I got my sweatshirt. Can't even do it right. Scarlet Faithful Podcast, going night and day apparel. Type in Scarlet Faithful. You get a 10% discount. And Rutgers still kicking 10-8, 3-4 in the Big Ten. Let's see how much they jump in the net. And we'll talk to you soon.